Welcome, everyone. Excited to share more details about the Washington Academic Internship Program, or WAIP, a DC experience offered to undergraduates of any major by the John Glenn College of Public Affairs at Ohio State University. All right, so to get things started, today we're going to give you a basic overview. This is an info session after all. We'll dive into what the academics look like during your WAIP semester. Internships, we know that's probably largely why everybody is here. They would like an internship in Washington, D.C. So we'll talk about what that looks like in the program. Huge part of WAIP is professional development. So we'll talk more about that. Of course, you got to know where you're going to live. So we'll address the housing. The budget is always a very important consideration. We'll talk about that and the scholarships we have available. And we'll wrap up by telling you more about how you can apply, which we hope you all will after this info session. So a little bit more about who we are. So my name is Katie Hogan. I am our Director of Washington Programs for the John Glenn College of Public Affairs. I have been in this role almost for 8 years. I really enjoy it. I oversee all programmatic aspects of WAIP. So that is recruitment. That's what we're doing today with this info session. Selection, so reviewing applications and selecting our candidates. Pre-departure preparation, so making sure students are ready for DC, placed in an internship before they arrive here. On-program support, and alumni engagement. Alumni are a huge part of the program, and we'll talk more about that as well. I'll also mention before turning it over to my colleague, Megan, that Megan and I are based in DC full-time. So something that makes WAIP really special is that you have staff that live in DC and work in DC full-time. Our office is located near Capitol Hill. We do travel back to campus probably once every other month, but we are here in DC, and when you're on WAIP, you're highly supported and see us a couple times a week. Megan.
Thank Katie. Hi, everyone. So I'm Megan Varn. I am the Washington Program Coordinator for WAIP. As Katie mentioned, we're both based in DC. So I work very closely with Katie on all aspects of WAIP, everything that she just mentioned. I look forward to talking more about WAIP with you.
All righty. So a quick note on the past, I guess we'll say 2 years now, as we are sitting in March 2022. So looking at the past 2 years of the pandemic and looking ahead. So just in the interest of full transparency, to keep students safe, we did move the program fully virtual for a year. So that was fall 2020 through summer 2021. And while that worked well, we were very excited and fortunate to reopen our doors to in-person programming in the fall of 2021. So at the time of this presentation, we are now on our second in-person cohort after the pandemic. Things are going really well. Obviously, we're still living in a hybridized state in some ways. So some students go into the office maybe 1 to 4 days a week instead of the traditional pre-pandemic 4 days a week, and then they'll work from home the other days. Some students are fully in person. We still have a couple of students who are still fully online. Our programming has largely returned to in-person, which is exciting, but every now and then we'll have a panelist who would like to be virtual or just can't be with us in person. So the point of this is flexibility will be the name of the game. While DC is rapidly reopening with some restrictions still in place as of today, but rapidly returning to a more normal place, we should say, we still anticipate that there will be a high need for flexibility and adaptability. And I know I don't have to say that to any college students who have lived through the last 2 years, but just knowing that we are going to offer a great program, but there is still some unknown and some things may be hybridized. So just a quick note that we went from a virtual setting to a return to in-person, but some things are still a little hybridized, and we just appreciate your patience. And we share that because we like to be transparent. Turn it over to Megan to give you the basics of the program.
Thank you, Katie. So what is WAIP? So WAIP is open to all Ohio State juniors and seniors. So as long as you have those 60 credit hours by the time that you apply, you're eligible. We do have some prerequisite requirements. So you either need to complete Public Affairs 2110 or Political Science 3115 before your WAIP semester. It's not required that you have it completed before you apply. These classes are offered, over the summer. So if you're joining us in the fall, you'd be able to take that requirement over the summer term. WAIP is open to all majors, so you can come from anywhere in Ohio State and join us for the program. We do offer all 3 semesters, the 12 weeks of summer and then the 16 weeks for autumn and spring semester. And you will spend that entire term in Washington, D.C., living, learning, and interning. You will also receive academic credit for WAIP, so you receive 12 credit hours, and we'll get into that in just a moment. And then of course, you'll have your internship, and that is your interest aligned with what you want to do for your career. A little bit about the Glenn College staff that's associated with WAIP. So of course, Katie and I are based in DC and work day to day on WAIP and with the students here on the ground. We also have a colleague, Dr. Amanda Girth, who's the director of Washington Studies, and she's in DC as well. She worked really closely with our MPA DC program. And then we also have an adjunct professor that's in DC teaching the course every semester. It usually changes every term, but it will be someone with, professional experience and academic experience in the field. On campus in Columbus, we have Chris Adams. He's the Director of Student Services and Program for the Glenn College, and then Roy Johnson, who is a career advisor for the Glenn College, and they both work very closely with us on all aspects of WAIP. Katie, would you like to talk a little bit more about DEI and WAIP?
I would love to. Thanks, Megan. So a question that we often receive is what diversity, equity, and inclusion looks like in our program and in DC. So would just like to talk through some of those considerations on the slide. We have it broken into two pieces. So first, I'd like to talk about how we make the program more accessible and inclusive. And I'll just say DE&I for us is always a journey, not a destination. We are constantly learning and growing. And I just want you all to know that when you're on program and after program, really value your feedback and make adjustments as we learn and grow. So just wanted to say that what's on the slide today is always evolving to meet the needs of our students. So with that, how do we make the program more accessible and inclusive? So it is open to all majors, and we absolutely love that aspect of the program. It really diversifies and enriches the experience. We've had engineering majors, business majors, chemistry majors, in addition to some of our more maybe commonly seen majors, international studies, political science, public affairs. But what's really cool is everybody is really committed to making a difference in the world, something related to public policy or public service. But the fact that it is open to all majors across campus in and of itself makes it more inclusive in terms of academic study. And I will share half of our WAIP participants approximately come from the John Glenn College as majors, and the other half major outside of the college. So again, we often see political science, international studies, but we also see business engineering, econ, chemistry, students from the School of Environment, Natural Resources. So it really is an inclusive program in terms of major. We are very proud and fortunate to be able to offer scholarships to help offset the cost of housing. Any admitted WAIP student is eligible to apply for a scholarship after they've been admitted to the program. So regardless of major, if you're in WAIP, you are eligible to apply. Those scholarships range in the amount of $500 to the full cost of housing, which is $4,500. The average award is about $2,000 to $2,500. And when you get in the program, we also make you aware of other financial resources across campus and other units to make sure that you are getting the maximum award possible to make the program more financially attainable. Mentor matching. So when you get to DC, you are matched with an alumni mentor. We try really hard to match you with someone that shares something with you, whether that's your career goals, your identity, whatever's important to you. Again, we ask for your feedback, and to the best of our ability, we match you with a mentor. And then that person does an added layer of support. Individualized coaching for internship placement. So you do not just get into the program and we say, okay, good luck, your resume looks fine, let us know how it all works out. You get a lot of intensive support from Megan or I. So one-on-one meetings, telling us what you need out of an internship, and that includes compensation. So while we cannot promise a compensated internship, we do our very best. If you tell us, listen, I can't go to DC without a little bit of compensation or some type of compensation, we'll do our very best to only put compensated opportunities in front of you. And we'll talk more about how many internships are paid to date later, but just want you to know that we try really hard to listen to you and support you accordingly based on your needs. Roommate survey, so you have the opportunity to share with us what genders you're comfortable living with, other considerations so that you have a comfortable living space. And again, to the best of our ability, we match accordingly. And then we have co-pilots pre-departure. So you get a peer mentor before you go to DC. So that's someone who did WAIP recently and has returned to campus, probably still enrolled at Ohio State. And they kind of tell you what it's like to prepare for DC. So that's how we make it more accessible, more inclusive. And then in terms of curriculum and DE&I, we engage the Multicultural Center at Ohio State. So they'll likely come and do an identity wheel exercise with you so you can think about your identity, how that relates to being a public servant, and how you can be most mindful and effective. We also engage, we have so many great partners at Ohio State, the Kerwin Institute. Some of you may have done their implicit bias training. So we have that in our curriculum. We learn about DC's history. DC is an incredibly diverse city with a rich and complicated history. And so we make sure that you are apprised of that before you even set foot here in our nation's capital. Our weekly themes and career fields, we have a vast range, again, to make sure that it truly is diverse. So one week we might be looking at Capitol Hill careers. The next week we might be looking at careers in social justice. We also focus on things like federal government, nonprofit, journalism. So we try really hard to make sure there's something for everyone, but also exposing all of our WAIP participants to things that maybe they aren't aware of, or maybe they haven't considered in terms of public service and what careers that might entail. The program is still very customizable though. And I think this is an important note in the conversation about DE&I. Of course, there's activities that are required to network, but you choose who you network with, and we'll give you support on how to find those folks that you want to network with. You choose where you get to go on your activities checklist. That's another assignment in our class where you have a list of 60 things to do in DC and you pick a certain number of them as part of our class. But you get to pick, and you can even write in if there's something that you don't see that really speaks to you. So there's still a high level of customization to make sure that it is being truly inclusive and works for every student. Every Friday we go on study tours. We have a very diverse range of sites. And then we do service projects to not only, of course, serve the community of DC, which is graciously hosting our WAIP students for the semester, but also making sure that we are being active community partners as well. So I know that was quite a earful on DE&I. It is important to us, and always happy to continue to learn more about how we can support our students and be a more accessible and inclusive program. Right, I'm going to turn it back over to Megan for academics.
Thank you, Katie. So as I mentioned earlier, you do earn credit while you are part of WAIP. So it is not just the internship component that you will be participating in. So there's a lot of academic courses as well. So 6 hours of the 12 credit hours that you will earn during WAIP is for the completion of your internship. And that also includes the professional development workshop. So that's the course 4191.02, which Katie and I co-teach. So you'll have your internship and assignments requirements based on that. And also, as we said, networking, mentoring, professional development workshops as well. Then 3 credit hours come from a seminar class that's typically on Monday evenings, which is Public Affairs 4020. That's more your traditional classroom seminar type course. And then paired with that is the 4021 class, which is a policy paper that you will do. That topic is usually up to you. So you're able to kind of dive deep into a policy area that you are interested in for that 10-page academic research paper. So you do have the potential use of the 12 credit hours to go towards your major or minor. This is where we would highly recommend that you meet with your academic advisor before your WAIP semester so you can understand where to apply those credits. So as I just mentioned, those credits can be applied towards a minor with the John Glenn College. A lot of people end up adding the public policy minor. If you do WAIP, you only need 1 or 2 more courses to complete that minor. The Glenn College also offers a nonprofit minor and a civic engagement minor. So there are definitely a lot of options to expand your academic path and add that toward your interest. We do have a minor advisor on campus, Steve Fink, and his contact email is right here. As I mentioned earlier, there is a prerequisite requirement for WAIP. So that is the Public Affairs 2110 course or the Political Science 3115 course. As I mentioned earlier, you do not have to completely before you apply to WAIP, but they have to be completed before you start your WAIP semester. So if you're applying for fall, you'll have a chance to take the course over the summer semester. All right, a little bit more about the internships. So here's a little bit of a breakdown of where our students typically find their internships. As you can see here, a lot are in the nonprofit sector and the federal agency. We also see quite a few on the Hill. Our current cohort, half of them are on the Hill. So it varies each semester depending on where everybody's interest lies. But the opportunities are really endless in DC. They have something for everyone. Here's a little bit more about the internship search process, which I'm sure a lot of you are very curious about. We are with you every step of the way in this. We like to say that you will be in the driver's seat, but Katie and I are very much in that car with you. So it is technically your responsibility as a WAIP student to secure your internship, but Katie and I are there to help support you. We go over resumes really diligently to make sure they are, perfected and up to par with DC standards. We also offer support for cover letters. We'll review each of those for you as you are working to send them out. We practice interviews as those come up as well. So we're really making sure that you are presenting your best self when you are applying for your internships. When you join WAIP, we also start off with a 30-minute call with you to really understand what your interests are and what you're looking for in your internship. This allows us to use our network to help find a potential site for you and really keep an eye out and find that perfect placement. With all this, we do want to note that if you are accepted into WAIP, you will get an internship. We do guarantee that much. A little bit more about paid internships. We would love it if everybody paid their intern, but of course we're not quite there yet. About half of WAIP internships are paid though. So we are definitely making progress towards getting more paid internships over the last few years. So of the paid internships, 55% are usually some sort of stipend. So this is like a lump sum that's paid to the intern. So this could be a one-time fee. It could be every month, every week, something like that. And then 45% are receiving hourly payment. And that's usually minimum wage in DC, which is about $15 an hour. Here's a little bit more information about how the stipends work. Just so you have an idea about how much money you would be able to expect if you're looking for a stipend payment. And then just so you know, of course, summer is really competitive, so we don't see as many paid internship options. So you can see summer 2021, 6 out of the 21 students were paid, and spring of 2021, 5 out of 14. I do want to note that for those 2 terms, they were fully virtual, and virtual paid internships were much harder to come by than in-person paid internship. So as you can see, our first semester back in fall 2021, half of the students did receive some sort of payment. Katie's gonna talk a little bit more about professional development in WAIP.
Sure am. Thanks, Megan. So WAIP is not just an internship. It's not just classes. It's inclusive of a lot of professional development and exploration of DC. So one of the ways we do that, and this is part of the course that Megan and I teach, is your professional development workshops, or PDWs, typically going to be Wednesday evening after your internship. So you have the unique opportunity to attend seminars that will help you with your networking skills, polish your resume, and meet OSU alumni. They're always different, a little different every semester, but some typical PDWs could include Young Alumni Panel. So that is a panel with alumni who are not too much older than you, probably graduated in the last year and have successfully started full-time work in DC. Mock interview night, we do this towards the end of the semester to ensure that you are prepared and ready to talk about all the great things you did in DC in an interview setting. Salary negotiation, we want to make sure that you understand how to get a fair and market rate so that you are paid fairly when you leave college and start your career. Nonprofit panel, so again, deeper dives into specific career fields. Career exploration workshop, so a deeper dive of thinking about who you are, what motivates you, and what field may be best aligned with that, and what your professional brand is and what you want to put out in the world as a professional. So these are just a way to complement your experience in your internship sites and help you be more forward thinking and how you want to be a young professional and what that looks like when you leave us at Ohio State. Other ways that we engage you in professional development and career exploration, I should say, is our study tours. So as we mentioned, your internship schedule is Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays you are not at your internship because you're doing classes with us, but your classes are really cool because it's essentially field trips in and around DC. So we explore Washington as a group every Friday, and that's your class. We call them study tours. They are often hosted by alumni of Ohio State or WAIP, and they give you the opportunity to see DC through their eyes and kind of a behind the scenes look. So obviously this is a big aspect that has been affected by COVID. We have done a lot of stuff online. We're starting to do more things in person, which we're grateful for. But study tours can include, things like the Library of Congress, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. We always try to get our students tickets there. Sometimes we're lucky enough to go to places like the State Department, if an alum who works there can get us in, the Pentagon, NPR headquarters, just down the street from Capitol Hill. So that's always a good one. And then as we talked about earlier, Glenn College, we're all about service. And we believe strongly that DC, it is your home and it's hosting you for that semester. We want to make sure we're giving back. So we do all kinds of amazing service projects that can be at nonprofits that provide meals to folks in DC. We work with the Anacostia River Keeper, which is a local river here that has an interesting history. So we just do all kinds of things and it's really exciting. But this is how you'll be spending your Fridays, and it definitely enhances your professional development and your exploration of DC. If you are more visual, which I am, this is typically what a WAIP week looks like. So in pink, you have that internship. Again, normal business hours. This can vary a little bit for some of y'all, but most of you will be 9 to 5 at your internship. Monday night, you have that seminar. So that's that policy course that you have with the professor. Wednesday night is that PDW or professional development workshop with Megan and I. And then Fridays, you have a study tour. We try to usually knock them out in the morning. Every now and then we'll have one in the afternoon based on availability of the person hosting us. But we ask that you leave your Fridays 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. open for that. And here's just some fun pictures of things we've done in the past. So obviously these two pictures were pre-COVID. So current senators from Ohio, Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown, we used to go see them. So there we are on the steps outside of the Capitol on a beautiful day with Rob Portman. And then there we are with Sherrod Brown. That was actually spring 2020, just weeks before the world changed. I digress, but really cool to actually get to come to DC and meet the folks that represent you in Congress. Here, top left, you have this was after a service project at Kenilworth Aquatic Garden. If you've ever seen pictures on our social media of folks and waders in what looks like a swamp in the mud, that's where that is. That's managed by the National Park Service. Really cool. In the middle top, you have students serving at Food and Friends local Meals on Wheels service for neighbors who are living with HIV, AIDS, and other life-challenging illnesses to have nutritious and scratch-made meals. We have a great partnership with them. Far right, these gals were at a salary negotiation lecture put on by the mayor of DC. Bottom left, that is former Defense Secretary James Mattis. He spoke to the students because he received an award from the Glenn College. So that was awesome. And then finally, we have that OHIO with the Capitol in the background. So just all kinds of cool stuff. It varies every semester, but what I can promise you, and this is the benefit of coming from a school with so many alumni like Ohio State, is there's just always cool opportunities that we're putting together with our alumni and friends. We mentioned your alumni mentor. Again, we're going to match you with someone who has something in common with you, added layer of support. They should hopefully, help you think outside the box about who you are and what you want to be professionally and how they can help. On the left, we have Lorraine Lewis. She's in the pink, second over from the left in that picture. That's actually 3 generations of her mentees. So she like collects mentees. They graduate, they come back. She stays in really good touch with them. The gal in the floral dress to her right was actually her mentee in like fall 2016. So they've been in touch for years, but then she'll connect her current student to her former students, which is really awesome. So there they were, I think, at the Kennedy Center. Then on the right, we have Caitlin Jackson Naki. She's second from the left. She was mentoring one of those young women you see in the picture, but allowed her to bring her friends, and they went out and had an outing and hung out. So it's not all like super professional all the time. It's also meant for you to build relationships and have a role model and ask your questions, because we know when you get here, you're going to have a lot of them, because it's sometimes your first internship or your time away from home. And this is, again, just another added layer of support beyond the program staff and faculty. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Megan to chat about where you live when you're in WAIP.
Thanks, Katie. So housing. So we do offer housing through a third-party provider for your WAIP semester, which is billed directly to your statement accounts. So it's typically offered with close proximity to Metro, groceries, Hall of Dates, which is where our offices and classrooms are located, and other amenities. The location can vary term to term depending on how many students we have, but it's always a really great location and a really fun time. Estimated cost, you can expect to spend about $4,450 for the semester for your rent for the WAIP housing. And as Katie mentioned earlier, we do have housing scholarship to help offset that cost and make this more accessible. There is a security deposit of $400 that will be due before you leave for DC, which is directly to that third-party provider. It's a little bit more about the budget. It will be your standard tuition rate. Whatever you pay for your semester in Ohio is going to be what you pay for your semester in DC, minus the campus-based fees. As we mentioned, the housing cost, we can expect to be $4,450 for a semester. That includes utilities, internet, all of that. As we want to mention, it can vary semester to semester, but it has been the $4,450 for the last few semesters. Once again, that scholarship, we really would encourage you to apply to that to help offset the cost of housing. Every admitted WAIP student is eligible to apply. It will be on a pre-departure Carmen page, which we utilize to have, really helpful information as you apply to your internship, and you'll be able to fill out a really simple survey to complete that scholarship form. Of course, there are other financial aid and scholarship opportunities through Ohio State. You have, of course, STEP funds.
All right, so Megan's dog would also like for you to do WAIP. So I will just jump in here and Megan, unmute whenever you're ready. But as we were talking about, we have those WAIP specific scholarships, but the good fortune again of being at a large, well-resourced institution is there are other opportunities as well, which we work really hard to make you aware of when you're in WAIP. Again, highly supported, lots of information that's streamlined. So STEP funds, many of you are STEP. We love the STEP program, and I believe the STEP program loves us. It's a really good fit for STEP students to take their grant. And I believe, I can't speak for STEP, but generally it's my understanding our STEP students get the full grant approved for use in WAIP, whether that's for the housing or their metro cost or their professional wardrobe. So however you want to use your STEP grant, please do. If you're an honors and scholars student, they have fabulous enrichment grants, and we've had many honors and scholars students in WAIP have success securing those to offset the cost. I believe those can go up into the amount of $3,000, but again, honors and scholars manages it, so you'll want to check with them. And then the Career Accelerator Fund, if you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, write this one down. There is a Career Accelerator Fund scholarship that's particularly good for students in DC that we've also had WAIP students get. So we know DC is expensive. If you are on the work really hard to make the program accessible and help you navigate the various resources with WAIP, outside of WAIP, and then of course in DC. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to apply, which I hope you all will join us in DC by applying to the program. So what you need, a completed application form that's on our website, a resume. So if you haven't seen your career advisor, now is a great time to go do that. Personal statement, you're going to tell us why you're interested in WAIP, how it aligns with your goals. Writing sample, this is 5 or less pages. It can be an excerpt from a larger paper that you already wrote. 2 letters of recommendation. We really recommend one come from someone professional and one academic. So I would say 1 professor or instructor. And when I say professional, that doesn't mean that you had to have already interned somewhere, just somewhere where you've had a job, someone who can speak to your work ethic, your contribution as a team member. So if you have a job at a campus, even DC employers love to see customer service type work. So just someone who can speak to your work, whatever that looks like, and someone your academics, and then of course, an interest in public service and public policy. And then we often get asked, well, what do you look for? Because it is a competitive application process. So 3 things. 1, academic ability. So can you succeed in the class? How do we assess that? We do look at your GPA, but I want to be very careful here. There is no GPA requirement to do WAIP. And we perfectly understand that sometimes someone's GPA may be lower for very good reasons. So it's just one piece of the puzzle. I also don't want you to feel like you can't apply if you aren't happy with your GPA, because GPAs are, I think, complicated. We also look at your performance in specific classes, your writing sample, and then your ability to manage your time, because you are going to be going to school and interning. So you do need really good time management. Placeability, which is a word we made up. So can we actually place you in an internship site? The DC market, even for internships, is wild, y'all. Like some places get thousands of applications for just a handful of spots. I don't want that to scare you. We have always been able to place our students, but we do assess that. Okay, is this person ready to compete in the fierce DC internship market? So what relevant experience do you have? I talked about that. That could be an internship at the State House, a nonprofit. That could be customer service jobs. Many students work at like graders, a restaurant, coffee shop on campus. Maybe you have a part-time campus job. We've had students who are tour guides on campus, telecounselors, they work at university fundraising. These are all relevant experiences because they give you time management, customer service, communication, problem solving, collaboration skills. So we just want to see that you have a little bit of experience. And that is largely why this program is geared more towards upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors. Match of interests and reasonable expectations. So have you done your research on the program? You're here at this info session, so clearly you have, but have you really, is it a good fit? Have you really done your research and determined that this is in alignment with what you want? And we look at your recommendation letters and personal statement to assess those things. And then your maturity and professionalism. So it is no small thing. You are coming to Ohio State with the Glenn College and Ohio State names. We want to make sure that you are ready and prepared to make us proud. So here is our website. We can throw that in the chat. That's where you'll find the application. Upcoming deadlines, our next deadline is fall 2022. That is going to be due March 12th. So just coming up around the bend here. And then the next deadline will be in our new school year next year. So that's spring 2023. That'll be early September. So if you're thinking spring 2023, just keep in touch, keep your eye on that, get your application going in August, I would say, if not earlier. And then summer 2023, summer is always going to be early January. I really hope you'll consider fall. I know it's hard to compete with that Ohio State football team, but that is one, just a really beautiful and fun time to be in DC from a weather perspective. But two, it's sometimes like our smaller cohort. And I think in general, less common time. It's still competitive to get an internship here, but there's just fewer than summer. And so if payment is important to you, or you have like a dream site that is very popular, I would really take a look at fall. I just think fall is really fun. So great. Okay, so this is our contact information. If you aren't already following us on Instagram, give us a follow at We the Waipers. Megan and I actually aren't the ones typically posting to that. I mean, sometimes, but it's largely run by our current students. So if you really want a look into the day or the week of a current WAIP student, that's a great place to go. And with that, we are going to stop recording and we'd love to field your questions.